Well, hey everyone, welcome to the channel, welcome to my stream and another chapter working on this guy right there. That is our Mig-17F 148 scale by ammo. We'll run the intro, we'll get started. Okay, so we're back and we're going to continue on this build. Now last time I was kind of fighting with the fuselage a little bit and getting our little, what you call these, the air brake panels, and getting those installed and trying to make them flush because Ammo didn't really design this kit in such a way to have these closed. They want you to have the landing gear down and with those open, but we're going to be having this plane displayed in flight. And so those should be closed. But in doing so, they sat super proud on there and they stuck out. So I decided to grab my very coarse sanding stick. I think this is probably equivalent to like maybe a 100 grit or something like that, maybe a 300 at best. It's really coarse. Anyway, so I sanded down the edge. Let me change the camera here and we'll show you. So as you can see, I did a lot of sanding on that to get that to just be at least somewhat flush. I can still feel it on that corner there, so I'm going to do a little bit more maybe on this corner. If you can hear it, maybe if I run my nail over it, you can hear my nail on there. Yeah. The other thing was on the front here when we glued this in, in spite of all my rubber bands and all the prepping I did, this side is very nice. That's a nice gap there, but this side wound up having a big gap. So I ran some of my Vallejo putty in there. I like the Vallejo because although it does shrink, that allows you to maintain a panel line through there, which should be there. You know, right? There should be a panel line there. But that makes this not such a huge crater in there. So that's that. So we're going to take a look at what is next in the build, because we finished the wings off and we got the main wings installed last time. We also got our rear wings put in, as you can see here. Those are in and those look good. So next, well, we already did the B-41. That's already on there, right? That's already there, that little spot right there. That's B-41. So what else we got to put on the bottom of this plane? Looks like we've got some, I'm not sure what these are. These could be pitot tubes into a couple little slots here. Let's see. One is going to go way over here, B-34, and then B-23 is going to go in right here. And then we've got what looks like our machine gun barrels going in there. So let's grab those. So we're going to grab our B tree. Is this the B tree? Which tree are you? You're A. I don't want A. I want B. Well, first of all, I want to have my glasses on. That is what I first want to do. So let's do the gun first. Okay, we're going to do our machine guns first. Let me get my knife and everything out here. Tweezers maybe if I need them. Okay. And our nippers. So let's do the guns first. So let's start with B-49. Let's find that. 49 is this one here. The other thing I want to do today is our landing gear bay doors. I want to get those on. So next we've got a smaller one, B-44. It's this little tiny, this little baby guy. Okay. And then of course we got our big one, B-48. The Russians really spared no expense on the machine guns on this plane. So I got some fairly ugly nubs on these guys that need to be taken care of. This one is in a really unfortunate spot. It's right on the face of what you're going to be looking at whenever you look at the underside of this plane. You want to make sure that one's gone and it's nice and smooth. And we've got a little extra pieces to nip off of there. that might be undergated. I'm going to have to check to see. And then we got our barrel. So for realism, you could carve out the barrel, right? You could get a pin vise in there and carve it out. This is small enough, I don't think the detail is going to be even noticed, especially, you know, my client's going to be hanging this from the ceiling. I'm not sure how low down he's going to hang it, but I know he's hanging it from the ceiling, which is why we're doing all the things like closing up the landing gear and stuff like that, and the air brake doors, things like that. The canopy will be closed, obviously. You're not going to be flying the plane around with an open canopy. So yeah, there's things like that. So he's going to be hanging it from the ceiling. I don't think there's much point in really drilling out maybe the big one. Let me grab a pin vise here. Let's see what I've got for size. That is a little, I mean, it almost fits perfect, but I think that's a little too big. I mean, for realism, that's probably perfect. Make nice thin walls. But if I go too big on it, yeah, too big is not good. So, I thought, yeah, there we go. I think I have smaller bits in here. No, it's in my other one. This one's got some extra bits. Now this bit might be the perfect size. Yeah, this one's good. Just go in maybe, you know, 3 or 4 millimeters. It's really all you need to do to just give that illusion that it's a barrel, right? You don't have to go super deep with it. Just to give it that illusion, so that a little quick glance at it, it looks like a hole and not, you know what I mean. So you don't suddenly see this wall right there. So I currently have it in, going in that deep. That's maybe a 1.5 millimeters. Let's just go a little bit further. Okay, let's check our depth. Let's see, how deep is that? Yeah, that's maybe about 2 millimeters, maybe 3. I'm happy with that. We get the, you really get the illusion of a barrel. You can't see down into the depths of that. Even if I try and get nice and close to the camera in there, you can't see down see where it is. That's the idea with that. Now, let's take a look at our second biggest one, our middle one. This bit is now too big for that one. That's why I've got this guy to just, no, I'm kidding. That's why I have my little set of these guys. These guys I got on Amazon a little while back. It comes in a pack, you get 2 sets of these. And they're perfect. They're very small and they're very delicate, but that's kind of what they're all about. See, this guy is about the same size as that other one, and that's too big. So we'll go down to this gray guy. And that's better. Now it's handheld, but you can do things like I can use the alternate side of my Tamiya one. So my Tamiya one will flip around and we can do that. But even that one's too small. So we're going to use this one. I believe that I've got another one in here. Yes. This one should work. Just do that. Put that in there. Yeah. And now we've got a nice a nice way to do that. So we'll do to this one just a little bit. Same thing. You want to make sure you are straight on. You don't want to accidentally go out the side. And you don't want to use a bit that's going to strain the plastic. Now these little ones are really sharp, especially when you haven't used them very much. So I've already gone in about 1 millimeter with this. And with this one, that's probably enough. Okay, I've gone now that far. I've gone that far already, right? Gone that far. Okay. So that's plenty. And now that one looks the same. Can't see into that one. We're going to test out our little tiny guy. I don't want that looking like a solid piece of plastic. I want it to look, even if it at a first glance, I want that looking like a barrel. So I'm going to try this one. That fits in there pretty good. That's good. So I'm going to use this one. So get in there. Now, originally, what did I say? Probably not going to matter. And what do? I wind up grabbing my little bits and I start working on it. That's a little, I'd say that's a problem I have. There we go. That's good enough. It's so small, you're not going to see it. And now I'm happy. I've done that little detail. I've added that detail. I'm happy with that. Let's put all this back the way I had it. The reason I keep this one bit in here is it's a common size that I use quite a bit. So just keep that in there. I've got 3 different ones that I use very often. And so let's put those back, put this back. Okay, so where do these go? Well, our medium-sized one goes on this side, and that's going to go up front here. We've got what appears to be a couple little holes for these pegs to go in. So test fit, dry fit, whatever you want to call it. Kind of sits like that. It's not feeling very positive. I like to feel that peg kind of slot into that hole and not want to move, but this seems to be wanting to move around. So I'm not sure how if these got filled in a little bit with the paint. I'll just kind of scrape in them a little bit there. And I'll take some glue. It's a little bit of my extra thin. And I'll put it on those spots where that mounts. Now I know the glue dries super quick, that's fine. This is just to give it a bit of a tackiness to help hold that in place while I make sure it's actually in the right spot it's supposed to be. And it looks pretty not right where it's supposed to be. The pegs don't seem to be going into their holes very well at all. I think I might have to shave the pegs down. Yeah, I'm gonna have to trim the pegs off. They're not fitting in their holes. So I'm gonna have to nip them off. Okay. Sorry guys, that's the way it's gotta be. You don't want to go in your home then you just gotta leave. So, that being said, let's put some glue back on that spot where they need to go. Right in there. And put that guy there. Line them up straight. There we go. So there's one machine gun. That's our bigger, our medium-sized one, I'm going to call him. And then we have our little baby guy goes right in beside him. I'm going to anticipate ahead of time if his brother didn't want to go in, then he's not going to want to go either. So I'm going to just preemptively remove these pegs off of him. Since I already have a feeling these ain't going to go in the hole either. Okay, so put some glue down where he goes. He goes in right beside him, right in here. And with him, I'm going to use tweezers. Because it's a little difficult to get in there. Get him lined up exactly where he needs to be. And we want these guys looking straight too, right? They should be pointing in the same direction. There we go. So can you guys see that? I don't know if you can even see that. That's the problem with the black, everything being black. So you can see where those two barrels are right there. It's a little hard to see them because they're small, right? But yeah, that's where they go. Big brother goes over on this side here, right in there. Okay. Big brother, we're gonna try and get Big Brother to go in there. I want to clean up this nub, make sure that's nice and smooth. Just hit that with my file a little bit here instead of a knife. Okay, let's see how he fits, if he fits. Now he fits into his holes. You see, I don't know why his little brothers didn't want to go in their home. He doesn't seem to have a problem. So just like that. Here's a little extra just for... There we go. So, machine guns are in. Machine guns are installed. Just like that. And that'd be a kind of a cool look. Straight on like that. You got 3 machine guns pointing at you. And as you can see, I'm very happy that I got the little hole in that main one because yeah. So that's that. Now, before I start working on pitot tubes, things sticking out the bottom of the plane, I want to go ahead and work on our landing gear bay doors. Okay? That's the next thing I want to get done on this plane. So I've got to take a look at the spot where we start working on those. And then we'll come back. So, landing gear bay doors. So for the front, I don't know which is the front. Well, I know obviously this is the front, but what do they call the main landing gear? Is the main landing gear the one in the front, or is it the one on the wings? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to. So A23 and 24 are for our doors that go on the front here, and then I marked them out already for the wings. A19 and 20 for this side, and 26 and 27 for this side. So let's work on the front first. A23 and 24. 23 and 24. That's these two guys right here. Now obviously the little arms that they have molded onto them to have them mounted in their open position are going to have to come off. Right, our little arms got to come off because these arms would be used, let's just get rid of that nub. These little arms would be used to hold it in and keep it open, right? Like that. But we're not doing that. We're going to be getting rid of those because these got to be glued in, closed. Now whether or not Ammo made these things the correct size to fit properly, well, that's what we're going to find out there, boys and girls. One thing I would like to do, if I can, which I don't know if I can, but I would like to glue these together first and then put them in there, but I don't know if I can do that. These also have a little funny edge to them, which it looks like that's supposed to go into this little rounded spot in there. But of course, even if I put these together, like this, that little thing up front there is not rounded. It's more of a channel kind of thing. But so yeah, I would like to just take this and go glue these together like this so that they're one piece that I'm putting in. But if I do that, then I'm going to run into issues where I'm going to have a problem where these need to be put together at a certain angle because they're curved. You got this little bit of a curve there. That looks smaller than your typical planes. Yes, it is smaller than my usual ones. Even though it's the same scale, it's still a 1/48 scale. You can see down here, right about there. Still a 48 scale, but because this plane was like a 1950, they used much smaller planes back then. So, like I said, having this together like this is not going to work because they need to be glued at a certain angle to match the curvature of the fuselage. So, I'm not going to have that luxury, so let's just start getting rid of our little arms. Get rid of these. One thing I like is when a kit comes with like the extra parts of like, okay, so these doors you're going to use if you're having it displayed open, and these doors you use if they're closed. Zvezda does that with their F-22, or not F-22, the Su-57. So, and that's a nice feature they do with those. So I have to trim this off because we've got to have that little lip, so because it's got to be able to match in there. Actually, I don't think I have to. I don't think it makes any difference. Okay, so these are trimmed off now. So our little arms are totally gone. So let's see how this fits in here. If it fits at all. Front to back Well, it's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. So I think I could get away with putting a little glue on there to help kind of position it, at least along the edge here. Make that a little bit sticky for it. Get one side in and get it kind of in where it needs to be, and then we can work on the other side, as long as we don't put it in too far, which is a risk. Sorry if you're looking at my head. I need to see exactly what I'm doing here to get this lined up properly. Because, as I figured, they did not design this to have these closed. And so, as a result, they don't fully match. So, that's one in. I need to let this one dry completely, otherwise when I go to put this one in, it's going to push that one down and it's not going to work at all. So this needs to be glued and dried and not touch it, which means this goes over here, and we're going to leave that for now. Okay, and we'll work on our wings. We'll work on the wings. So let's grab 19 and 20. 19 and 20. Okay, so there's 19 and 20 right there. It's 19 and 20. Okay. Clean these up. Now, we've got one little guy right there that I already know that's got to come off, right? Gone. Trim that off. Clean it up here on the underside. These are the ones where you've got this little lip, this little channel that the doors could potentially just sit down on. And so you need to have that cleaned up on here on the underside where that little thing was. Otherwise it's going to sit proud. And we don't want it sitting proud. So make sure that's cleaned up nicely and gone. Okay. And that should do it. Now this is where it was on the, where was it on the sprue? Right here. Okay. That was number 20. So 19, these got to come off regardless, even if you are displaying them open. And we got our two little tabs on this side here and here, so we got to get rid of those. And clean it all up. Nubs got to go, and remnants of those little tabs need to go. Okay, so the remnants of the tabs on this one are on this side, and that's this right here. Now they've done these, they almost reinforced them a little bit. So I need to do a little carving to get rid of these. There's one. Okay, I think that should do it. Now let's see how these fit in here. Now number A20 would have gone right in here like this, but we're going to lay her down flat and see how she fits. Lay her down flat, and that totally don't fit. Oh, yeah, it does. Hey, look at that. She fits in pretty good. So we're going to glue her in. Just like that. Fits nicely. And then A19. This is interesting. A19 goes here like this, but there's a huge gap in between. Did they have the wheels actually exposed on this? See, we got that. We'll go like this. Now this one doesn't fit in. Like A20 fit really nice. This one doesn't fit. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of work on the back of this. But what about this section here? That's totally exposed. There's nothing in there, which tells me I need to lay the wheel down inside this channel, which means I got to pull A20 out. I got to lay the wheel down in here, which means I am going to be assembling the landing gear. But how is the landing gear going to lay down? Because they did not design this to have the wheel laid down. Let's take a look at our landing gear here. So we're going to take B29, 33 and 39. Okay, so let's grab that. B29. That's interesting. B29. Let's grab this. This is all a nice learning curve to see how this is all going to go together. We don't want retribution. There we go. And then we want, what are the wheels? 39 and 33. 33. Nice. 39. Now I gotta go hunting for that tire, or that half of the tire. And I have a feeling. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Lord. There we go. Okay. So this guy, what color would we be painting our landing gear? I didn't even mark it down because I didn't think I was going to be having to assemble any of it. So that's 0195. What color is that? 0195. Silver. So our landing gear should be silver. Well, hey, everything's going to be painted silver anyway, right? So B39 goes attached to that on here, like this. Of course, doesn't fit. Is it supposed to be a certain orientation? Oh, yes. There we go. Okay, so we have a not quite circle. It's got a flat spot on it, so it does. Oh yeah, because the wheel's got a flat spot on it. They've molded a flat spot on the wheel because obviously, you know, the wheels, they flatten a little bit when it's sitting there, and they've preemptively done that for you. But we can't do that. We're not doing that, are we? So this would be. So you think, in theory, how does this go? In theory, we have the wheel facing inward like this. So that's how this would sit in there, like that. And then the wheel's got to go in and go in like this. Right? So, and of course, normally they want you to take A13 Oh, there we go. A13 is the cover for the wheel. A13. I figured it out, guys. A13. Here's our missing piece. You know, for a minute there, I thought we were going to be dealing with, like, is it the old Spitfire that has the exposed wheels? Underneath the plane, where they don't bother with covering them up. Is it the Spitfires? I forget now. A13. A13. So, this guy goes back in there. He goes in here. And then A13, figure out how he goes. He goes on here. Like that. Okay, I gotta clean up that nub. Nice thing about this piece is there's nothing I have to clean up on it. I can just drop it in there. Nice. Get them lined up. There we go. Now, if I get the final piece, get this guy cleaned up a little bit so he fits in there. This edge needs to come down a little bit. He's a little too long. Just barely, but he's just, you know, barely enough is enough to prevent fitment. And I want to make sure it's going to sit in that little channel. Okay, you gonna fit in your home now? Let's see. Not quite. Let's get this one out of here. That's a tight fit, eh? You've heard that. Kind of click out of there. Okay, she fits in there now. But that made this one a tight fit. Let's take this one out. If I can get all three in there at the same time. Yeah, that's a tight fit. It's really tight now. So, it's just a little too tight. So I gotta shave down this edge a little bit. That's the problem, right? These kits that are not really designed to have all your bay doors closed.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead. With everything you know that you can get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I know with every breath.
That's in.
My past is filled with
Next
things
piece.
I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a
Come on.
If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything.
How about we put you in?
Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like. Find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life.
She doesn't like to fit together. We're like 90% of the way. If I really push down, I can kind of get it in there, but it's really not wanting to. these two are fighting each other. These two are fighting each other. So let's try shave this down a little bit. Now this is the risk, because we got two edges. Are my edges going to line up still when I'm done shaving this? What are the chances that I still maintain the proper angles for these to fit? You know, that's tough. And I want to do chamfer this edge in here on this guy. And maybe, just maybe, do the same here. Done this before on the other pieces where I just kind of chamfer the edge a little bit and make that thinner, but without actually taking any off the very, very top edge, just to try and get it to fit in there a little better. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, put this guy in. Okay, you're in your home. You're in your home and you're happy. Now you got your neighbor moving in. And how's your neighbor do? Is your neighbor going to be friendly? Or is your neighbor going to bug you every day? How annoying is your neighbor? Let's see. Come on, don't go too far in. Not really any different, is it? If I try and force it in there with my fingers, if I get him in his place, let's try this guy. You gonna go in there? Oh hey, how about that? They fit perfect. Third piece, last piece of the puzzle here, guys. Last piece of the puzzle. Last piece of the puzzle is the one sticking out. Okay, because I had him glued in already, he's a little bit stubborn now. He's got a little bit of extra gumption on him. So his edges need to be cleaned up. Let's try putting him in this way first. Line him up there. I think we got it. I think we got it. All three pieces are in. This just needs to be, yeah, okay. Glue. Glue all around. There we go. And I can push this down now and there we go. Be careful. No fingerprints. We don't want fingerprints. Look at that. I managed to get all three pieces in and they all fit in there. And they're pretty flush. Like, look at that. How about that? Bang! And I don't need to worry about the stupid landing gear. All right. Yay. Okay. Let's do the other side. All right. Where's my coffee? I need a coffee. No, I don't. I don't need a coffee, but I want a coffee. All right, let's get our other 3 for the other side here. There's 1, 2, and 3. All right. That makes me feel good about this side. All right. Clean and shave. Get these guys going. This edge done. That is this one. We'll just do a little test fit just to make sure. It fell right in there. That's perfect. This side doesn't seem to have as much of a predominant edge. It's a little more subtle. But should still be able to get it to rest in there. Doesn't want to though. It doesn't really want to sit in there. There we go. Okay, that's that one. Now this one, if the other side was any indicator, this guy's going to give me trouble. This was the same one that has the big nubs on it. I need to shave down and take care of those. Okay, test fit this guy into that spot. Looks like same problem as the other side, only even worse. This one is way too long to fit in that groove. Way too long to fit in that groove there. Like almost a full millimeter too long. So then that becomes, which edge am I going to trim down? Or should I trim down both edges? So I get this guy lined up against him. Let's clean up our nubs first, before I get ahead of myself. Before I get ahead of myself, let's clean the nubs. Chamfer those edges. Really impressed with the other side actually fitting in there. Finally getting it in. They fit. Okay, so again, let's look at these edges here. This is going to go in like this. That can't be right. It's got to be this side. Yeah. So if I shave that down, it's gonna be a little bit weird, I think. Getting this guy in there. he fits in there perfect like that. But this guy is not going to fit. If I get him in there, yeah, he's pushing everything over. It's just a little too big. So I think this edge needs to be trimmed down, and this edge, both edges. So we'll get this edge trimmed. I'll try that, and at the same time trim this one down. Got to do little bit by little bit, otherwise you go too far, suddenly you've got this huge gap, and you don't want that. You don't want that. Okay. I feel like my file is leaving a little bit of a lip. Okay, let's do a test fit here. Let's get it to actually fit in there, in the hole first. That's important too. So if she's not going to fit in here, okay, I took enough off that fits. Good. So, the last piece of the puzzle is this. Although I can do this and get it in there, can I get it in with all the pieces? All three get in there. Okay, these two are in. We are close. So close. Come on, stop fighting me. I don't want to use glue yet. Of course, glue helps to keep them in place, even if you do have to move them around a bit. The glue helps, but I don't want to have to use glue yet, because if I gotta pull them out of there, okay. I think we're good. I think we're good, guys. Put some glue around there. Kind of work them in and get them lined up like they need to be. That's pretty good, just like that. Yeah, not bad at all. There we go. 2 sides landing gear bays in. I'm actually quite surprised considering how much of a fight these guys were to get in there in their places. I'm really surprised that those went in without a hitch. And the fact that our front ones don't really fit at all. Not properly anyway. Speaking of which, this has been sitting long enough, I can probably work on this guy now. So we're almost done. Spent the whole hour almost working on these. But this is what you got to do if you want to do custom stuff, some alterations. This is the kind of thing you're going to run into. These two guys were never designed, never intended to be put together closed like this. So whether or not this is actually going to work, I do not know. We will see here. I think with a little bit of glue on there, I can get that to hold in its place. I think I can do it. Set it down in its spot where it's kind of supposed to go. Not upside down and sitting in there. That's wrong. Kind of like that. And I'll put a little bit of glue on there. Okay. And that glue adds enough resistance that I might be able to just kind of press it down in there as the glue starts to work on that plastic. Yeah. Just like that. And just like that, we've got our front landing gear bay door installed. I don't know if blowing on Tamiya extra thin helps it dry, but it, you know, placebo effect, it feels like it helps. There we go. Our front landing gear bay doors are in. And of course there is nothing to go in there. At least not that I can tell. Let me see. I don't see anything that's supposed to go in that spot. It could be that when you got this part here, your B31, let's take a look at it. B31. B31 is this guy here. B31 has this great big chunky part that goes in right in there, and it could be when the landing gear goes like that this becomes a cover. Possibly could become blocking that in there, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I have a feeling that's just the way it is. They just leave it like that because there's really nothing to indicate any difference, any change like that. So there we go. We have landing gear bay doors installed. And I feel good about that they're going to stay there and they're going to look good without any huge gaps. It's nice it is nice that they fit so tightly together. It's not nice that they don't fit flush, because they were never designed to fit flush. You know, Ammo did not intend you to actually put your landing gear bay doors closed like this, so you can't really blame them. Although you might expect them to fit, you know, for realistic purposes. Landing gear bay doors, whether they're open or closed, they should fit, right? Anyway, we're gonna let that dry before we go on to anything else, okay? So I would like to remind you guys that there's a subscribe button down on the corner there, and that there's a like button over on the other side, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit them. It doesn't cost you anything to hit those two buttons. It's free, so I'd really appreciate that. And you can check out the description box. You're going to see some links to things like my Twitch and my Instagram, my X channel. Instagram, I upload pictures whenever I finish a project. I upload them onto my Instagram. You can check those out there if you feel like it. Leave a comment down below also if you feel like it. And I want to thank you for the support, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.